People who have their freedom, by which I mean people who aren't in prison, but who offer to marry people who haven't, in other words, prisoners, and do things like send them knickers, naughty pictures, and of course, love letters, make the rest of us wonder what the fuck is wrong with them. However, unlike random middle-aged hags, and hey, that includes men as well as women, who never actually meet the serial killers and rapists that they fall for, prison officers who bonk inmates have a hell of a lot to lose for doing that, including ending up on the other side of the bars. Shockingly though, more and more of them seem not to care about that. Take the case of 31-year-old Linda De Sousa Abreu, a former prison guard, also known somewhat more vulgarly as, excuse me, a screw, at HMP Wandsworth, South London. This married mother of one, who hails originally from Brazil, was sentenced in January 2025 to 15 months in prison for MIPO, misconduct in public office, in which she basically had intercourse with an inmate whose name was Linton Wayrich, and that happened in June 2024. The act was filmed by another inmate on an unauthorised phone and was shared both on social media and on OnlyFans. Now viewer, if I've got you hooked on the story so far, do subscribe, give the video a like, drop a comment when you're ready and donate. Hit the thanks button below, I'll appreciate you. When he sentenced Linda, the judge, Mr. Justice Edmonds, gave quite a neat summary of Linda's offence. Quote, "On the 25th of June 2024, you were on duty in uniform when you went into the cell with the prisoner. You took off your prison issue radio and put it to one side. Your set of keys was at risk of being taken. A second prisoner was present and had a camera, doubtless on a phone which must have been an unauthorised phone. He also appears to have been smoking cannabis. Rather than challenge his possession of either a phone or of cannabis, you consented to him recording what was happening. The recording lasts some 4.5 minutes, during which you gave the prisoner oral sex, then vaginal intercourse in a number of positions, before concluding by giving more oral sex. You participated with evident enthusiasm. The second prisoner recorded events and provided a commentary by way of encouragement, saying things like, 'Guys, we made history. This is how we live at Wandsworth, bruv, and you know you are a gangster,' unquote."
The second prisoner recorded events and provided a commentary by way of encouragement, including saying, "Guys, we made history. This is how we live at Wandsworth, bruv, and you know you are a gangster."
The indictment said that Linda, quote, "willfully and without reasonable excuse or justification misconducted herself in a way which amounted to an abuse of the public's trust in the office holder by engaging in a sexual act with a prisoner in a prison cell." Linda was arrested in July 2024 at Heathrow Airport as she attempted to escape to Madrid, having notified the prison of her travel plans. She pleaded guilty soon after her arrest to MIPO, and she did that at Isleworth Crown Court. For his part, Mr. Wayrich, Linda's filming partner, has since been moved to a different prison. Interestingly, in court, Linda also requested the judge to consider 2 other offences, one being sexual activity with the prisoner earlier that day, the same prisoner, and the other being a separate sexual encounter with that same prisoner within at least 3 to 4 days of the main offence. I don't know enough law to say what the woman gained by asking for those 2 additional offences to be considered. Judge Edmonds then said, "Whether you intended it or not, the fact is that the video went viral and caused great harm to female officers at HMP Wandsworth." The judge also noted that some officers said that after the recording, they were subject to abuse and harassment from prisoners, as well as being subjected to sexual approaches and being seen as fair game. Other officers claimed that their children were teased at school over what their mothers may do at work after the video was released. The judge again commented that it was inevitable that the damage for which Linda was responsible at Wandsworth had spread to some degree through the whole prison estate. Linda is set to do half of her 15 months inside and the other half out on licence. Case 2 in our exploration of screws gone bad is 29-year-old Toni Cole, who, in February 2025, got sent down for a year for an offence of MIPO. Toni had a fling from December 2022 to January 2023 with an inmate at HMP Five Wells in Northamptonshire, where she of course worked. Toni kissed her inmate boyfriend, sat on his lap and gave him advance notice of cell searches. In addition, she sent the guy 4,369 messages, which included a picture picture of her underwear and took part in 18 video calls with him, all the while engaging in, quote, contact which was sexualised or flirtatious, unquote. The relationship came to an abrupt end, however, when it was discovered during a meeting that took place on the 25th of January 2023. The purpose of that meeting was to uncover why Toni had taken it upon herself to do an unauthorised overtime shift 2 days before. CCTV footage from the shift showed that Cole had spent considerable time with her prisoner lover, with the footage appearing to show him with his arm around her. As well as being put behind bars herself, Toni was ordered to pay a surcharge of £187 at Northampton Crown Court, which has got to be the least of her worries, I'd say. Case number 3. Dawn MacCormack, a 42-year-old prison officer at HMP The Mount in Hertfordshire, was sentenced in July 2024 to 27 months in prison for MIPO. Dawn had had an inappropriate and intimate relationship with an inmate by the name of Josh Moore, and in their relationship they exchanged 4,500 messages, and MacCormack gave Moore topless massages, but it was Moore who was topless. MacCormack also gave Moore opportunities to access illicit phones. Their relationship lasted from May to June 2019. Fellow officers raised suspicions after the intimate pair were seen flirting and giggling, and that led to Dawn's prompt arrest. However, she wasn't charged until June 2020. When they searched Dawn, police found that she was in possession of 2 illicit phones that had been smuggled into the prison. Police also discovered that between the 15th of May and the 20th of June 2019, MacCormack shared more than 4,000 messages, as I mentioned, with Moore, and that she had also had more than 90 calls with Moore. In court, MacCormack cried as Judge Michael Rokes slammed her, quote, repeated and deliberate breaches of a high degree of trust, unquote. He told Dawn, who is a mother of 2, that she had risked blackmail and that she had undermined prison safety. He also said, quote, I can't be sure that you were in a full sexual relationship with Mr. Moore, but it would undoubtedly be described as an intimate relationship based on mutual sexual attraction. The court heard how the relationship began when new recruit Dawn was assigned to the prison's Nash wing in January 2019. Among the 120 prisoners under her supervision was, of course, Josh Moore, who was doing 8 years for aggravated burglary. The judge said, quote, other prison officers became concerned at the amount of time that you were spending with Josh Moore. You were described as speaking to him for hours. They became more concerned still when you began spending time with him alone. The court heard that MacCormack, or Dawn rather, that's how I'm calling her, would take Moore into areas of the prison that weren't covered by CCTV, such as the servery. MacCormack and Moore were caught on camera without realising it on an occasion when Dawn was giving Moore one of the topless massages that I mentioned earlier. Dawn was said to have rebuffed repeated warnings from colleagues. The court was told that she denied anything was wrong with her relationship with Moore. However, a fellow officer reckoned that Dawn had spent more than 50% of her time on duty with Moore whenever she was on shift. Dawn told the trial that she had been in a state of extreme distress at the time of the alleged offences. She said her mum had been dying of pancreatic cancer and that her marriage had come to an end after 15 years. After giving Dawn's mitigation serious consideration, the judge told her to shut her stupid mouth, more or less. Dawn has to do half of her 27 months inside and then do the other half out on licence. Case number 4. In July 2024, Rachel Stanton, a prison officer at HMP 5 Wells, got a 9-month suspended sentence for engaging in a sexual relationship with an inmate with whom she now shares a child. 31-year-old Rachel Stanton, a mother of 5 no less, had a fling with an inmate by the name of Edwin Poole, who was serving a 10.5-year sentence for armed robbery. The mum of 5's relationship with Poole was uncovered when prison staff found 3 intimate photographs and a sexy love letter in his cell. CCTV also caught the pair going into a prison storeroom for an hour of intimacy, a court heard. Rachel was suspended following the discovery of their relationship in July 2022. Poole himself was promptly moved to another prison. Rachel continued to visit him and they went on to have a baby together, but they have since split up. Rachel, who comes from Northamptonshire, admitted willful MIPO at court She wept in the dock as she was sentenced to 9 months in prison, suspended for 18 months, so she doesn't actually have to go to prison unless she breaks the terms of the suspended nature of the sentence. She was also ordered to take part in 20 days rehabilitation activity. Cases 5 and 6. Now, what's quite shocking about the case of ex-prison officers Aleesha Bates and Jodie Wilkes is that their respective jail time comes from their having bonked the one and the same inmate. Aleesha, 29, and Jodie, 27, shagged inmate Michael Cronshaw while they worked at HMP Buckley Hall. Both women admitted MIPO. In March 2024, Aleesha got 2 years and 8 months. Jodie, however, didn't get jail time. She got a 1-year suspended sentence and an order to do 200 hours of unpaid work. Aleesha was the first of the two to have it off with Cronshaw, the guard having got into a relationship with the lag in December 2019. Jodie, meanwhile, started her sordid fling with the man, who's a convicted drug trafficker, by the way, in April 2020. After scouring the prisoner's cell, guards discovered a mobile phone which detailed the extent of the romances. In one text, Aleesha said, "I want you 24/7. I can't get enough of you. If I had it my way, I would be on the phone to you every single moment." This was in fact one of the great many messages from Aleesha to Cronshaw, which Aleesha often accompanied with nudes. Aleesha denied the pair had had any physical sexual contact. What was proven, though, through the discovery of text messages between her and her prison boyfriend, was that Cronshaw had threatened her after she borrowed money from him and his family. I really don't understand the circumstances why a prison officer, someone in employment, would need to borrow money from a prison lag, an actual prisoner, or from the person's family. Anyway, one message suggested that if Aleesha fails to return the money, Cronshaw would send people to her house to smash her head in. Aleesha later told the police that she was manipulated by the prisoner and then fell in love. On this very point, in fact, Bob Elias, defending, said that the prisoner had been a seducer and had a reputation that needed to be taken into account. The judge, Mr. Justice Elliot Knopf, however, said to Aleesha, quote, "Yes, you were ensnared, but the prisoner identified you as someone who could be approached, and you didn't have to accept that approach," unquote. Wilkes, or Jodie as I'm calling her, on the other hand, admitted that she had engaged in an improper association with Cronshaw, but she insisted that she hadn't been manipulated by him. I couldn't find out if Cronshaw himself was convicted in relation to doing naughties with these two screws. Case number 7. 33-year-old Hayley Jones, who, on the 31st of October 2024, Halloween itself then, pled guilty to MIPO, has got to be the most hated prison worker so far on this list. A prison teacher of some kind, Hayley, you see, chose as her own inmate lover the fucker who, in the early hours of the 26th of June 2022, stomped and kicked 35-year-old law graduate Zara Elena to death while she was walking home over in Ilford, East London. Before attacking Zara, Jordan McSweeney, who was 29 at the time, had stalked and followed no fewer than 3 other women, all of whom having thankfully been able to escape him. He'd also interacted with a 4th woman who he appeared to know, and who, accordingly, when he intimately groped her, didn't seem to mind. With 28 convictions relating to 69 criminal offences, most of which involving violence, McSweeney was, at the time when he murdered Zara, being looked for by police on account of his having breached the conditions of his parole, the man having been released from his latest stint inside no fewer than 9 days before this point, you see. Before you ask, the inquest into Zara's murder concluded that the failure of the police to catch McSweeney straight after his recall to prison was triggered, the 22nd of June having been when, was one reason, if not the main reason, why Zara Elena was now dead. Having taken flight after pouncing on Zara and then punching her and kicking her and trying to rape her, McSweeney came back and started stomping on her all over again, her head having been his main target. He then fled for a second time before returning and re-stomping Zara for a second time. Sickeningly, in court, the man's having rendered Zara unconscious was seen as a credit to him. After initially getting 38 years for killing Zara, he won his appeal for a 5-year reduction to his sentence on grounds that, during much of his fucked up attack on Zara, Zara didn't feel any pain as she was unconscious. Don't ask me why the appeal judges ignored, as they obviously fucking did, as far as I'm concerned, the fact that McBastard Sweeney had no right to lay a finger on Zara in the first place, meaning that they, the judges, had no right to use the state of unconsciousness that he inflicted on Zara as a point in his favour.
One of the things that really bothered me about the reduction in the minimum sentence for the killer of Zara Aleena was that one of the reasons given was that the harm that he could have in somehow brought to his victim was lessened by the fact that she was unconscious quite quickly after the attack started, so that some of the injuries and some of the beating that he sort of brought to her wasn't somehow felt by her because she was unconscious. I mean, I found that extraordinary.
Ooh, a chill went down my spine when you said that.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's appalling. It does make me ashamed of our criminal justice system that argument can be made and sustained, trying to categorise his crime as less serious because he knocked her out quickly. I mean, I don't know how they can conclude that. She was discovered still alive and died shortly afterwards, but it was a 9 minutes of sustained beating.
It would seem at the time of this video, February the 28th, 2025, that Hayley Jones hasn't yet been sentenced. Case number 8. In February 2023, 25-year-old Rachel Martin, a former screw at HMP Guys Marsh in Dorset, got a year and 4 months for as many as 9 counts of MIPO. The counts relating to her, you've guessed it, illicit affair with an inmate involve her sending the man a parcel containing a quantity of high-value designer clothing and footwear. She also supplied him with items of female underwear, I don't know if they fit him, and willfully communicated with him on a mobile phone. She also advised him on how he could dispose of that phone by saying, quote, "If anyone comes, you'll just have to flush it," unquote. She also bought him a top-up for that same phone. The other counts of MIPO that she was convicted of relate to her having encouraged and assisted communication with 2 other prisoners on mobile phones that she failed to report that they were in possession of. Tut tut, Rachel. I assume the woman is out now since this video was made, as I say, in February 2025, but I can't find any further information about her. Case number 9. In August 2023, 27-year-old Katie Loxton, not to be confused with the fashion brand, got a 12-month prison sentence for MIPO and for transmitting or causing the transmission of an image or sound by electronic means from within a prison without authority. Katie used to work as a prison officer at HMP Oakwood in Featherstone, West Midlands. When on duty, Katie would spend a large portion of her time on the block where an inmate by the name of Adam Higgs, aged 32, was housed, which raised the concerns of a number of officers who were working there at the time. When they asked Rachel about it, Katie denied any wrongdoing with Higgs. After carrying out some checks, it soon became apparent that Loxton and Higgs had bypassed the security system inside the prison and were communicating with one another through a fake contact, no idea what form that contact took, which they had set up through Higgs's telephone in his cell. Between the 7th of July 2021 and the 13th of January 2022, Higgs made a total of 3,451 calls to this fake contact. He spoke with Katie for more than 380 hours and spent 798 quid making the calls over that same period. Higgs also managed to hide a mobile phone which he used to communicate with Katie through social media, with the pair often performing sexual acts to each other over the phone. For his own offences relating to his interactions with Katie, in August 2023, Higgs himself got 8 months. Case number 10 is somewhat different to all the preceding cases, and we are likely to hate the prison officer involved even more than we hate Hayley Jones. On the 14th of January 2025, Russell Maitland, a depraved, as the judge said, former prison officer who admitted raping a young girl in the northeast of Scotland and essaying another, was jailed for 13 years. Maitland, 37, admitted carrying out the offences in Peterhead, Aberdeenshire, and in Aberdeen. Maitland raped one girl when she was under the age of 13 and also essayed her. At the High Court in Aberdeen, Maitland was told that he would also be monitored for another 3 years after his release. Maitland used to work at HMP Grampian in Peterhead. Maitland also admitted essaying another young girl in Peterhead, and he admitted a further charge of various indecent exposures in the Peterhead area. My lord. Defending, Chris Gilmartin told the court, "The man wishes to publicly apologise for the harm which he has caused. It's unavoidable that a significant custodial sentence will be imposed on him." The judge, Mr. Summers, told Maitland that he had admitted a horrific catalogue of sexual violence. He said the offences had resulted in life-changing consequences for the victims who struggled each day. The judge also said that it was a testament to the courage of those victims that justice had been done. He described Maitland's crimes as, quote, "almost unimaginably depraved," unquote. Woo. If you've enjoyed this video, despite the worrying nature of its content, I recommend you to watch this one next. I'll meet you there.